And it also just allows us to kind of bring in people who might take an interest in one of those topics and get them on the road to supporting proportional representation if they've got an interest in, the influence of AI disrupting elections, which is going to be really impactful over the next few months during the American elections, and will no doubt affect elections here over the next couple of years. I see a couple of questions in the chat. Yes, Nick, we do have a Conservative peer, Lord Balfe, who is one of our co-chairs. There isn't a public list of MPs yet, but we are reaching out to people who we think would be best placed to join it. So that kind of recruitment is ongoing. I should also add, yesterday was really well attended, and it's particularly well attended considering it was just the inaugural meeting, which is basically just a rubber stamping meeting. We're aiming to have a much more kind of public facing launch of it later in the year to shine a light on the APPG's objectives and aims, but we thought it was really important to get it off the ground and get the wheels on within the first 100 days of this parliament, and it sends a really clear signal that there's growing cross-party consensus for this within the new Parliamentary Labour Party and beyond. I think the other big thing we wanted to share from that was I think Alex Sobel, the new chair of the APPG, has recorded a video which Joe hopefully will be able to share.
And I should say this is in draft form. It's not quite finished, but we can play it for you guys. And yeah, just really good to have a Labour chair for this this APPG. And Alex has chaired previous APPGs working on electoral reform issues, and yeah, it'll be great for it. Hopefully, you'll be able to hear the sound of this.
I'm Alex Sobel. I'm the Labour and Cooperative MP for Leeds Central and Headingley. I'm absolutely delighted to have been elected as the chair for the all-party group on fair elections. It's absolutely critical that people's trust in politics is rebuilt, and the group is going to concentrate on three main issues. One is the issue of dark money in politics. Who's funding some of these misinformation, disinformation campaigns, taking on that misinformation, disinformation, and finally working towards getting a fairer electoral system in the United Kingdom. We need to rebuild people's trust in our elections and our politics, and this group's aim is to work with MPs right across Parliament and with the public to achieve that.
So it's three problems, really. First part, I suppose, dark money and disinformation that the APPG is focused on. Clearly, our focus is, as you know, Labour for New Democracy is Labour for PR. It's the electoral system. But this is going to be a really key means of taking forward a campaign. I mean, as we've been saying, I think at these meetings and in our communications, the last Parliament was the sort of cutting edge of the electoral reform movement, was really inside the Labour Party, getting the Labour movement on board, whether it's conference, CLPs, members, trade unions. We've taken that so far, and we did really well, I think, all of us collectively in the last Parliament. This Parliament, we've got to continue that, we've got to consolidate that. But a lot of the sort of front line also moves now into Parliament and into the sort of wider public as well. But the parliamentary organising is going to be really key, and the APPG, we hope, working really closely with the Secretariat of it, is going to be key to building that Labour support. You get lots of different kinds of APPG. Some of them operate as sort of, you know, glorified social clubs or sort of, you know, vehicles for fancy overseas trips. This is going to be a campaigning APPG, and it's going to operate as a bridge between the work going on in Parliament and the whole, you know, ecosystem of democracy organisations outside Parliament. So that's, you know, us. It's our equivalent organisation in the Liberal Democrats, which does exist, and you know, cross-party organisations like the Electoral Reform Society, MVM, all the usual suspects. But yeah, the APPG should bring all of that together. Alex, back to you, I think.
Cool. I think that about covers APPG. The other main objective that we are going to have over the next year or so is basically bearing down on those Labour MPs that are still undeclared in their views. and trying to get more converts to our cause. We've got a pretty good idea for those that were selected early on, but there was a big wave because of the scale of Labour's win, and because many selections were left, as many of you will know, until a month or so before the election date. There is still a body of work to be done there in terms of outreach via local members and peer-to-peer organising, and of course me trying to harangue people. So I think there's a lot of potential gains to be made there as well, and often we're pushing an open door, and we simply have to find the right language and connect with issues that those MPs care about. So in terms of the grassroots outreach, we will be coordinating via local groups and picking up with people directly where we know that there are MPs that have yet to make their mind up, or for whom we simply haven't got data yet on their position. We may also do the same where we have MPs that have expressed support locally, but that hasn't yet translated in support in Westminster, because it's one thing telling local activists that they're supportive, but another making sure that they're involved in us progressing the case for PR in Westminster. So we'll be in touch about organising that, and we're going to be working with LCR really closely as well on what that means like at a CLP level, which we'll hear about in a bit. I think that just about covers regional organising, Joe. Another little thing actually to remind people of is just at conference, it's really helpful if you are having conversations with your MPs or any other MPs, it's really helpful to share any data you come across. So we're kind of continually keeping up to date and coordinating with other electoral reform movements and making sure that we've got a really good idea of where people stand now. And we'll be kind of inviting everyone to regional WhatsApp groups in our next email to support that work and make sure that we're coordinating on a regional basis. I think we were going to talk briefly about government roles. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to. I don't think we have Laura with us yet, but essentially, and just to give you a sort of overview of the ministers who have responsibility for our issue. It's a bit of a cross-cutting issue, democratic reform. So there's Nick Thomas Symonds, who is the Minister for the Constitution and European Union Relations, and he sits in the Cabinet Office. And he's leading on sort of Lords reform and things of that nature. However, there's also a democracy minister who's a level down, a sort of a junior minister, Minister for Democracy and Local Growth, who is Alex Norris, but he doesn't sit in the Cabinet Office team. He actually sits beneath Angela Rayner in the Housing, Communities and Local Government Department. So there's a bit of a split in terms of, broader constitutional issues and more specific democracy issues, which, could break down in a number of different ways. On top of that, I mean, the other person who's really key, I mean, there's obviously the sort of quad of really, important ministers for all purposes, but the other person who's potentially quite key is Lucy Powell, who is leader of the House of Commons. Now, the Labour manifesto committed to a modernisation process, and there's now a modernisation committee looking at various ways you can sort of upgrade the House of Commons and Parliament. Lucy Powell is chair of that as leader of the House of Commons. Now, electoral reform isn't going to be within scope of that, but it could be a really sort of interesting and useful theatre to sort of raise issues about electoral reform. So that's kind of the breakdown of responsibilities across the cabinet and front bench, specifically within that wider PLP.
Great, thanks, Joe. The other thing that I'm sure you'll all be aware of at the moment is going on is NEC elections. So we've shared positions where we've got quotes from NEC candidates on proportional representation and electoral reform. I'm sure many of you will have seen that I'm about to pop into the chat, but just in case you haven't, that is a database of the quotes that we've had from candidates. We've reached out to every candidate that we can, and I've been having one-to-ones with people to try and use the opportunity as well to make the case and bring over those that haven't provided us with quotes. So if anyone's still wondering how to vote and PR might decide how you vote, that information's there. We don't endorse candidates, but I should also actually say LCR has endorsed Anne Black, which is the benefit of us having two slightly aligned but separate outfits. So yeah, hopefully that information is useful for people. And I know I mentioned as well the work that we're going to be doing at a CLP level, and I think we're going to pass over to Sandy and John to talk about the speaker program.
You want to do that now?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. Well, can I just say, I mean, we don't. LCR is a non-factional organisation, so we have people who are members of Progress, we have people who are members of Momentum, if it still exists. We have people right across the board, but we have exceptionally this year endorsed Anne because of the immense amount of work she's done over the years for our cause. And so I would urge any of you who have not yet voted, I bet most of you have already voted in the NEC elections, but anyone who hasn't yet voted, please put Anne, number one person on the list, because we desperately need her on the NEC. Having said that, well, one of the great things that we've managed to do, I mean, I think almost everybody knows about the Labour Party conference debates and the motion win. And almost everybody knows that we now got the vast majority of the trade unions, including 4 of the big 5, on board. And that was down to a huge amount of work from Labour for New Democracy people. And in particular, I want to do a shout out to Sam, who was just brilliant. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he was a tireless worker and got locked up.
He's not dead. He's
I know, no, he's working for the Labour Party now, I believe. He certainly was during the general election anyway. But one of the other things that he did, which I think a lot of people don't realise, is that he also managed to get the majority of the active constituency parties on board, so that when we got to the conference in 2022, we'd already got motions passed at the majority of the constituency parties across the country. Now, obviously, the boundaries have changed, some of the personnel have changed, and in any case, if you leave something as it is, then it may gradually wither away, or you may begin to lose contact with people. So we want to have a new invigorated speaker program to go out to constituency parties, and LCR will be trying to make sure that whenever a constituency party is able and willing to have a debate on proportional representation or on democracy in general, that we will be able to send a speaker along in order to do that. And I'll pass on to John for all the details that I've left out.
Yeah, so and I should mention we're happy to do it either in person or over Zoom. Both of those are work very well for us. If it's in person, obviously we need a little bit more notice normally to find someone who can get there and to organise things a bit, but it's great. I mean, having been secretary and chair various different CLPs, I know how difficult it is often to get a meeting that's interesting and to have something to hook it on to. And I think as an organisation and as a campaign, it is something that's really important, because it just gets it enables really interesting Labour meetings, which is not always the case, I have to say, but we're able to have a really good debate. And we're also, as a campaign, it's really important that we actually talk to our members and talk to Labour members and work out where they are on the subject. Over the years, obviously, we've had enormous amounts of success, and now we're very aware that the pitch has changed. Now we have a big majority. The arguments that we were using are still valid, but we're actually going for a slightly different pitch now, sort of highlighting the fact that with 33% of the vote, 34% of the vote, it's actually not as stable in terms of keeping Labour policies there as it possibly could be, and that's that's an area that we're focusing on now as an argument. So I certainly loved always going out to do speaking at Labour meetings. We'll do it at branch meetings. We'll do it at union meetings. We'll do it at CLP meetings. So any of those we're up for. So if you do think that it would be appropriate to do one at your CLP, do get in touch, and we'll certainly be sending out lots of campaign materials about trying to encourage CLPs to do that with us over the coming weeks and months. Over to you, back to you, Alex, I suppose, or Joe.
Yeah, thanks, John. Or do you want to go ahead, Alex?
Sure. So the next big thing that we're looking forward to is conference, obviously, which is next weekend, and we're really pleased to have Andy Burnham speaking again. We've got a panel this time, and we've got a pretty big room, so please come along and help us fill it. We've also got Rob Ford, which many of you will be familiar with Rob from his presentations, setting out the kind of academic evidence in favour of proportional representation. And we've got Anna Dixon, one of the new MPs to chair for us, and Caroline from our team will be speaking as well, particularly about the trade union case. So yeah, really looking forward to that. That's on Sunday at 5 o'clock inside the ACC. And
I just add, we are having an informal end of conference drinks session at the Keynes Brewery on the Tuesday evening. Not very much happens on Tuesday evenings at conference, so if you get to Tuesday evening and you're still in Liverpool and you want to come and have a few drinks with us, you are very, very welcome. It's not free drinks, I'm afraid. You do actually have to pay at the bar, but it's drinks in a friendly atmosphere.
And we'll be running the stall, or well, John and others will be leading on the stall. It's going to be a conference of also networking with lots of the new MPs and others in the party. Can people just raise their hand if they are going to the conference? So we got a few. I mean, as Alex mentioned earlier, any info you can provide. If you have a chat with an MP and you find out that they're pro-PR or you find out they're not pro-PR, it's really useful if you can just tip us off about that so we can follow up. That's always going to be very helpful. We have we're not going all out as in previous years on a big conference operation in terms of organising delegates and so on. But what we will have is a WhatsApp group for everyone basically going to conference who is interested in the campaign and supports a campaign. I'm going to put the link in the chat. We'll also send it around by email again if this doesn't work for you. You'll have to get it onto your phone somehow. But if you join this group, basically we'll send updates about our fringe events, other interesting stuff relating to PR happening at conference. And if there is any sort of unexpected development, if someone's put forward a motion which somehow gets prioritized for debate, then we'll have a starting point to start organizing and respond to that. But it's probably not to be expected this time around. I think that's pretty much it as far as an overall update goes. By the way, I've had word that our colleagues Laura and Caroline send apologies, so I won't be hearing from them. But yeah, we'll open up to the floor now, I think. Just if anyone has any comments or questions, we'll be very happy to take them.